Always, Lois, you know.
Not always? Oh, okay.
Today is January 15, 2015. I'm here with Arlene Samuelson, who taught in rural school, and her niece, Lois Hanson, is with us, and I'm Jean Richardson. Arlene, thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me today and sharing this information.
You are very welcome. But 75 years ago, I started teaching in the rural school in 1940, which I subtract and find is 75 years difference.
That's a long time.
That is a long time, and it's hard to pick these old, these elderly brains.
Do you remember where you taught?
Pardon me?
Where did you teach?
The best I can tell you is in Fayette County,
Okay.
Iowa, of course.
Do you remember a township name?
Do I remember?
A township name?
Banks, but I don't know whether that's where I taught first, second, or never.
But there was a school, there was a township by the name of Banks?
Yes.
Township, okay.
And it seems to me that Banks number 7 was actually our home township. Not necessarily the one I taught in, but where we lived, because we lived in the country there just nearby.
So did you attend rural school as a girl too?
That's interesting. Actually, I went to Randalia School for my elementary education, except for the last 2.5 months. Then we were moving out into the different area. Excuse me. And I had to take the 8th grade exams at the county seat, which I did and went past. But then we had 2.5 months of rural school left. Well, I knew I had passed. I could go to high school. And so I didn't feel very much the necessity of going to school every day, and my mother could always use help at home. So I went 2.5 months, more or less, in absentia.
But they still made you take the 8th grade exam.
Well, I had taken it before I moved there.
Oh.
So that the country schools can't get any credit for my education. Okay. I was done.
How many years did you teach in the rural school?
Just 2.
Do you remember what your room and board arrangements were?
Somewhat. The first year, I evidently commuted from home in the good weather, but probably most of the time I lived with a farm family about 1/4 mile probably from the school, which I walked every day, including after I had badly sprained my left ankle at the movie theater. And then I walked to school in bedroom slippers.
You couldn't get a shoe on?
I don't know whether it was drawing attention or whether it was, can't get the shoe on, I'll have to put something else on. I don't know.
Well, this fits in just right because my next question is, what did you wear to school? So we know at one time you were wearing bedroom slippers.
And you know, that's probably the best that I remember, because I know I wouldn't wear everyday clothes, but remember, I had been going to school my whole life, you might say, and so I'm sure I was aware of what school clothes were, but I have no real memory of it. I'm sure they were very modest. And
Do you remember anything about winter clothing? What you would have worn to help keep you warm?
no, I really don't come up with a thing.
Do you have any idea what time you would have left for school?
No, and you know, well, I think school officially started at 9 o'clock, and I'm sure I had to be there ahead of that because I was the one who opened the building and started the fire and did all of those little janitorial jobs.
And tell us about starting the fire. Are we
Oh,
talking?
I'd really rather not. Because I was only too delighted Monday mornings when my dad brought me from home to school that he, without saying may I or whatever, went down and started the fire. And so that was one morning the school warmed up quite nicely, the school building. But I'm sure, well, no. I was going to say I'm sure it was a wood fire. No, not necessarily, more like a coal fire. It wasn't gas or kerosene, I don't think. Except the second year, there might have been some kind of an oil heat. I'm not clear.
So, but your building had a basement. There's a heater down in the basement.
I think for the second year, yes. For the first year, you know, I'm not sure. I could believe the first year there was a heater type, not a range type, a heater type stove upstairs that heated the room. And I think then that was the one where it had a flat top of some kind, and we sometimes made some hot food for us. And the best recollection I have is that I think potatoes, whole potatoes that you would bake, were probably a favorite. Easy to prepare and send along with your little kids. And if we got them on at the right time, they were done at noon, because I'm sure that's when our meals started. Probably the good traditional hour for the noon meal and playtime.
When you were walking to school, did you ever have anyone to walk with?
No.
Okay. There would have been children at this home you were staying in, were there?
There were no children.
Okay, all right.
There were no.
Do you remember anything about those walks?
No.
Okay.
What I'm wondering is, I don't think I was carrying water for the children to drink during the day.
Okay.
The second year I had to do that, but this year I think there was farm right across, not the highway, the roadway, where we could get the water. So that I think it was one of the students' chores or job delights or something that they got to go and get the water for the day. Probably, I suppose, one pail bucket or whatever did it for the day. But I think we had